It's the bike shop.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Nice to meet you. And again, good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Espandola. I'm the president of the South Coast Bikeway Alliance. I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. And for this is our 5th annual summit. And
I'm Julie Kelly from Mass in Motion Fall River. And I'd like to ask any other representative of the South Coast Bikeway to stand up, please. We've been meeting now for 5 years, and it's our mission, the South Coast Bikeway Alliance mission, is to work with local leaders to build a better bicycling network in the South Coast. We feel it's an accomplishment that an all-volunteer group is pretty amazing to be still meeting after 5 whole years and going forward and seeing such a turnout as we have here tonight. So welcome to you all and thank you.
at the end of the evening, we asked the people from the South Coast Bikeway Alliance that are members here to wear stickers so that you could identify them, and would encourage you to reach out to them from their individual, if you can find someone that's in your community, to ask them questions if you're interested in joining a local biking organization and participating or participating with the South Coast Bikeway Alliance itself. At the end of the evening, if you stick around, we have a drawing for a gift certificate from the Bike Den of Wareham and Yesteryear in New Bedford. It's a fun kind of way to thank you all for being here tonight. We'd like to start by thanking our sponsors for tonight's event. The Cape Cod 5-Cent Bank and the Narragansett Bay Wheelmen made very generous donations to us earlier this year that allowed us to put on this event at no cost. They make it possible for us to do these types of things, and we've had generous donation, I'd like to mention, from the Wheelmen in a prior year that helped us do quite a few things, including printing t-shirts, road signs, etc. Would also like to thank the La France Hospitality, owners of White's, for this very nice venue. And we want to recognize organizers of regional fundraising rides that are here tonight, and you can see the various booths set up up front. They were here before and they'll be here after if you have some questions for them or you'd like to register for a ride. They play an important part in raising awareness and introducing people to long-distance bicycling, training, and daily road riding for commuting and pleasure. We have the Pan Mass Challenge, Lungusocian Autumn Escape. They have routes that come through Wareham. Then there's the Buzzards Bay Watershed Ride. It's a great 75-mile route from Westport all the way around Buzzards Bay to Woods Hole. The South Coast Bikeway Alliance partnered with the coalition last year on a series of rides, and you should take a look at their Find an Adventure pages on their website. Also, at the end of the evening, there will be a drawing for free registration to these rides and a Providence Cyclocross, which we'll get to shortly. We'll explain a little more about what that's about. We also want to thank Southeastern Massachusetts Visitors and Convention Bureau for coming out this evening and to show support for better cycling in tourism, the tourism industry. And would also like to thank Fall River Cable Television for broadcasting this tonight and recording this event for us. And we have the Chronicle here as well to cover. Thank you.
Each year we ask people from the different communities that are here attending to stand up and show the support that exists across the South Coast. So I'm going to go from east to west and start with Wareham. Anyone here from Wareham, please stand up. standing over there in red, she is the South Coast representative on the committee. So if anybody has any questions at the end, please see Eileen. How about Marion? Jeff Oakes is the representative from Marion, and again, please come to him with any questions. We're wearing these little tags in case you don't remember who's who. Next, Mattapoisett. And Bonnie D'Souza, could you stand up, Bonnie, is the representative. Fairhaven. and Bob here is the representative for Fairhaven, New Bedford. Tim Carrera is the chair, representative who could not be here tonight, but Jen Gannett is her alternate. And there's Jen, if you have any questions. Dartmouth. Greg Barnes is the representative. I don't know if he's here today because he had a meeting.
Yeah. Is it FinCom?
He can't come.
He can't come, okay. But I'm sure you all know who Jeff is, who Greg is, so. Let's see, Westport. Yeah.
By the way, welcome to Westport.
And Gail and Brian Moses are the representatives from Westport. Fall River. Great. Brian Pearson is the representative from Fall River. Anyone from Somerset? How about Swansea? Oh, here's the person. We're going to name you the representative. Don't leave without giving us your name. Okay, great. Any other town that's represented here?
How about everyone else?
Mansfield.
Everyone else stand up. Yeah? Mansfield, I know we had one from Cranston, Rhode Island was here earlier.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman up front. From Providence, all right.
Oh, everybody stand up. Okay.
All right. Yes. I'd like to also recognize the representatives that are here tonight. We have State Representative Alan Sylvia from Fall River. We have Representative Schmidt from Westport who just stood up. And we also have our guest speaker that was going to speak in a little bit with Mr. Bill Ross. And Carol Viola, I'm sorry. Also.
Fall River.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out and supporting us tonight. Really appreciate that. And also, I'd just like to take a minute and just recognize a couple of people that did something special for us. We have our slideshow that was put together by Jen Garnett, and I hope you've been kind of watching that as it's been scrolling through. So these are examples of some of the things that we've done, and a lot of events that we've had, group rides, a lot of fun. And I would encourage you to, keep in tune with us, watch our website, get on our friends list, and, come out and ride with us. It's a great way to meet a lot of people, and we have rides of all lengths. It's really mostly beginner to intermediate types of rides that we go on. And I'd also like to just recognize someone who really, in the last year and a half, has been very important to our organization to help keep us moving in the right direction. She's done a tremendous amount of work on this event, and we've each contributed a little bit. But Bonnie D'Souza from Mattapoisett has gone so far above and beyond in the last year to help keep us moving in the right direction. So I just want to put a shout out to her. Thank you, Bonnie. So now we want to talk about the South Coast Bikeway Challenge. We had an idea last year to do this as a way to, you know, talk about the bike culture in our community, in our various communities. So we said, well, why don't we hold a challenge that we can encourage people to get out on their bicycles and ride. There's already a national event that's organized by the League of American Wheelmen. It's promoted by Mass Bike on their website. And so we decided to create our own local group, the South Coast Bikeway Alliance chapter of this ride. It starts in May and it goes through the end of September. So it's a 5-month period, and we encourage people. We didn't advertise it a whole lot, but you know, among friends, and we got 28 people to ride, and these 28 people over the course of 5 months rode 31,000 miles collectively. That's equivalent of 1.25 times around the globe. And this was a community-based challenge. Yeah? Like to ask everyone who rode in the challenge last year, I know that not all 28 are here, but anybody who rode in the challenge last year, if you could come on up just for a second. Just come on up. We just want to show that the So I'm gonna ask someone take this one. So what we did was there's two aspects to the challenge. One is it's a community-based challenge, and that's what this trophy is about here. The trophy went to the town of Fairhaven because we had the most miles per capita rode by the town of Fairhaven. You know, we have a beautiful bike path there. That helps a lot. We have some avid cyclists, and so we were able to capture that last year. But the challenge goes out this year to anybody in this room to make your community the winner, and then this trophy will go to you. We have plenty of room in there for placards to go to, you know, to each community as it goes on. Not all the people here are from the town of Fairhaven, but they all rode in the challenge. And we also had some special recognition for some people that, you know, we had prizes for individuals as well. So John Sylvia, right here, rode 4,446 miles on his own. He was the top, okay, in 5 months. Okay, you can just call him Captain John. Okay, he was top in our group, but he was also third in the entire state in this challenge in that 5-month period. Susan Sullivan from Fairhaven, she was 1,000 miles, a top female and the top senior female. She actually is over on a bicycle tour over in Vietnam and Japan right now with her husband. John Sullivan rode 3391, came in second place as a male. And then we have Kirk Kirkendale, who's not here tonight, from Marion, who's a top male. Tony Branco from New Bedford, third place male. Wendy Henderson, the Westport, second place female. And Margaret Kelly here from Fall River, third place female. She's not shy, she told me that tonight. So the town of Acushnet was a second place per capita, and it's represented by Steve Reed. We have the town of Marion as a third place town, and of course that was Kirk we mentioned earlier. This year we're setting a goal to have hundreds of people do this, so we're really going to promote it, and we really hope that you'll help us promote it. We've already established that we're going to put $1,000 worth of prizes into this year. Last year we had some modest prizes, some T-shirts and some gift certificates, but this year we've got some significant prizes, and we have donations that are starting to come into us. Right now the Y is donating a 3-month adult membership which includes cycling classes. We've got a $75 gift certificate from Scotty's Bicycle Shop in Westport, and we're sure that we'll get more to come in as this goes along. So we also, if you look on your table, there's a water bottle on each of the tables. There's one. Where anybody that agrees to sign up for the challenge tonight, we're gonna have a clipboard and a sign-up sheet on the table for you. If you agree to sign up, you can have a water bottle. We'll come out and pass them out to you. So really, this is a big focus of what we're doing this year, and we hope you'll support us and follow their lead. Thank you very much, everyone.
The South Coast Challenge 2014, we had many accomplishments. Many of these are written on the backs of your program, but I want to call out a few of the highlights. We became a 501c3 nonprofit organization. With grants from SERPED, which is our regional planning organization, a total of 475 bike racks were installed across the 23 towns in the SERPED region. 386 of those were installed in the South Coast Bikeway towns. We worked with SERPED to initiate the first regional bicycle plan as a standalone part of their regional transportation plan. The draft should be out in April for everyone's review. Within the different towns, there are some highlights and milestones as well. Marion has made significant progress towards being awarded a construction funding allocation on the MassDOT Transportation Improvement Plan. Design funding will be on this spring's town meeting warrant. Go Marion! Mattapoisett had their 25% public hearing on Phase 1B. That's the second mile, I believe. New Bedford began the Hurricane Barrier Bike Path Project. Dartmouth initiated discussions about trails in North Dartmouth conservation lands for an off-road pathway from linking Fall River to New Bedford. And finally, Fall River is planning for our groundbreaking for the Quequechan River Rail, the Alfred Lima Quequechan River Rail Trail.
Well, tonight we're very fortunate to have Bill Strauss here, State Representative, to tell us what's going on at the state level. Bill has represented the 10th Bristol District in Massachusetts legislature since his election in 1992. He is the House Chairman of the Joint Committee on Transportation, the key reason why he's here with us tonight. He's been involved extensively in transportation issues as a legislator. He was the original sponsor of legislation that added the Port of New Bedford to the Steamship Authority system, now connecting New Bedford with Martha's Vineyard. Bill has been a longtime advocate for the extension of commuter rail service to New Bedford and Fall River, as well as extension of Middleborough line further south into Plymouth County. As Transportation Chairman this term, Bill's work has already led to a 33% jump in local road and bridge money that goes directly into towns and cities from the state, and new sources of increased state funding for the regional transit authorities, which provide public transportation outside of Boston. Bill has been a longtime supporter of the South Coast Bikeway Alliance, coming to our summit every year to address us. And tonight he has an update for us, and we'd like to hear from him now. Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here with you again this year. We changed the venue each time, and I think draw in different people for each of the events, but each one has been instructive and helpful to me in the work that we do. I did want to acknowledge again my colleagues who had, I know, multiple things on the schedule. Alan Sylvia is still here. Carol Fiola from Fall River was here earlier, and I just want to make a particular mention about Paul Schmidt from Westport. I'm involved because I love the issue of transportation, but also bikeways. And a lot of times I'll view it as a transportation issue. I pick on Paul tonight because he's now the House Chair of the Environment Committee. And in many ways, I remember one of the telling lines that helped change the attitude in Mattapoisett, where we had years of local opposition, and either they came around or moved, I guess, because we have nothing but an unending string for several years now of unanimous votes at town meeting every time we come forward asking for additional design money or things like that. But one of the lines was, when you think about the space that's preserved and the access then that people have, in going out on the bike paths. It's one long park in a way that people might not get to see otherwise. And with the next mile in Mattapoisett, we're going to have access for the public to some of the most incredible parkland that this state has to offer, and I can't wait. The slight update on that, where we had the 25% design hearing last fall in town by MassDOT, is where MassDOT sometimes will advance it to 75%, another round of hearings and whatever. I was able to prevail on the acting secretary at the time to let it be advanced to 100%. So right now the town has been authorized. It's going to cost some extra money, but to at this point go from 25 to 100% design for that next mile. It has some marsh crossings, some river crossings, an eel pond crossing, another bridge along the way. It's tricky stuff, but it's going to be a gem that people will want to be on from all over the place. Let me just focus on what's going on at the state level. Everyone knows, as severe as the weather has been tonight, my only thought when I got out of the car was, thank God it's not snow. As difficult as it may be outside this building right now, who knows whether we could have endured any more. That snow, to put really a serious point to it, has affected the transportation discussion. A lot of people in Massachusetts think sometimes that you can discuss an issue and then move on to the next one. Transportation comes up every year. Everyone in this room knows that, but the public isn't always aware of that. And one of the people who found that out, and I don't think he expected to, was our new governor, Charlie Baker. You get elected to office, you have things you want to do, you expect to do, you go through all the memos and things like that, and you think, here's what we're going to do in the first 10 days, 30 days, 100 days. Well, guess what? Things happen. Not that the other issues are unimportant. There are many important issues and things he'll want to and need to address. But, oh, thank you, Alan. Alan's a big Facebook guy. Oh, here they are. They were too far away when they waved.
If you want bike money or transportation, you come and take the picture of the chair. Okay? That's what we do, right?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You were out of the room when I was telling them how important these issues are from an environmental standpoint. And Paul, again, great colleague, chairman of the Environment Committee, and very critical in a way that helps these issues as well. Good to see you tonight. So I think the governor got a lesson. And so we are seeing it play out that as much as we tried to do last term in the legislature with regard to transportation funding, recognizing although we put together a package that increases transportation spending across the board an additional $5, $6, and ultimately $700 million a year, it's still not enough. The demand out there for the transportation system, including bikeways, is so great that the discussion about financing transportation continues. We were underway with it 2 years ago. We're underway with it now. We did, if you recall, or were here and you recall my remarks last year, I warned people, and it's something happened that I hoped would not have happened, which was the ballot question. Even though it was a slight majority, it did pass. So the ability of the gas tax to fund all transportation projects and keep up with inflation, by ballot question, that's over. We remain, even though we increased the gas tax 3 cents, while at the same time in the last year it's gone down over $1.50 a gallon, we increased it 3 cents. That still is not up to the level where it was as a reflection of the economy 20 years ago. So our financing system is still not what it needs to be to fund the transportation system people want. What does that mean for issues like tonight? It means the competition, as difficult as it was, say, in December, with the perspective of the work that needs to be done in all parts of the transportation system, the competition is going to be even more severe. It is therefore important, as the new Baker administration puts together its capital spending plan. These things get reviewed, and a lot of it is the discretion of the current governor, whoever he or she is. The next iteration of the transportation spending plan will have a number reflecting Charlie Baker's interest in this issue. This is what citizen involvement is all about. So you need to make your voices heard about what your priorities are in transportation spending. So this is a good time. We do have, as the Secretary of Transportation, a wonderful person, Stephanie Pollack, who is well experienced, knowledgeable, and I think a great advocate for all modes of transportation. And so I'm very hopeful about that, her role as to what it will be in educating Governor Baker about transportation. I've gone on longer than I wanted. I didn't want to even use the full 15 minutes. What I wanted to do, if Bob says there's a little time, was dangerous thing. Try and take a couple of questions, transportation related, Red Sox, leave that to others.
Bicycling related transportation.
Oh, he wants to narrow it even more. Okay. But if there are a couple of questions, I'd like to try and answer them. Otherwise, it's been great to be here. Here's one.
I have a question about Commonwealth Avenue in Boston.
Yes.
Just what's happening now.
Well, I assume what you're talking about is this is a classic conflict. Going back 20, 25 years, the city of Boston ended up with an overall cap on available parking spaces. And now, as that gets discussed and bike lanes get added, just in terms of a basic design issue, you're going to be losing automobile parking spaces in order to provide the bikeway access. And then you have the people who say, well, what happened to the parking spaces that used to be here? So you have to be prepared to, if you're in that immediate area, that one's not going away. The parking space number, so to speak, in Boston, and the Globe article talked about how hard it is even to figure out accurately how many there really are in terms of publicly available spaces. That's going to be a confrontation, although the trend has to be promoting safe bike use on these major streets. We see it almost anywhere else you go on, in Europe or other countries. And we have to do the same. Anybody else? Okay, just that. Thank you again. It's a pleasure to be here each year.
We just wanted to thank Bill for coming out every year and providing this critical information to us. It's so important for us to advocate and have people listen to us about the needs. So we have a little something for Bill.
Should I open it now? Sure. Oh, this is great. Let me say, I had no idea this was coming, but why it's so appropriate. My bicycle, and now we all get older, but I still use my Raleigh 3-speed English racer with the Sturmey Archer 3-speed gear shift. My kids think I'm an idiot for a lot of reasons, but that one in particular. So, but this looks so much like my bicycle. Thank you very much.
has to thank him for all his time with our bicycling.
Okay, so now I wish to introduce our keynote speaker, Nicole Friedman. Nicole was born here in Massachusetts. She attended MIT and later Stanford University, where she got her degree in planning. In 2000, she started competing in bicycling in the 1990s, and in 2000, she won the U.S. National Championship road race and was a member of the U.S. Olympic cycling team. In 2001, she was a national champion again. In 2007, Friedman was selected to run the Boston Bikes Initiative for the City of Boston under Mayor Thomas Menino. Her impact in Boston is reflected in expanded biking infrastructure and increased popularity of bicycling as a transit mode. Please welcome Nicole Friedman.
I don't know where you got that introduction. I would have called out that I was runner-up in my 5th grade jump rope contest. Well, it's wonderful to be here. I was thrilled actually to see how far along you guys have come. I talked a few years ago in 2011 for Fall River, and you were just starting out, and it is tremendous reading your accomplishments, and I was so impressed. You should give yourselves a big hand. So what I'm going to do tonight is talk a little bit about Boston Bikes, what we have done in Boston to go from, to become a bike-friendly city, and talk about how the community contributed and what you all can do, and hopefully we will all leave a little bit more inspired. And I apologize for any of you that heard me speak a couple years ago. You may recognize some slides. I hope your memory is as bad as mine is. But Boston was recently recognized in 2006 as it had an award as the worst cycling city in the country, and we had received that award 3 times in a row by Bicycling magazine. And we even had an international award as worst cycling city in the world. They gave us that award early because there was no one competitive with us. And I always say it was deserved. When I started the job, we had 180 feet of bike lane, and really, you can see it. It starts up there, and it ends here. So on September 21st, 2007, a date you won't remember from history, Mayor Menino said we are going to transform Boston into a world-class cycling city, and he pointed to me and he said, Nicole, deal with the details. So really, what does it mean to make a world-class cycling city from where we were? It was about changing culture and really creating a cycling culture where nothing existed before. And how do you do that? Number one, we decided to set a goal. And I don't know if any of you know Andy Clark. He is the executive director for the League of American Bicyclists. He came to Boston to do a summit really early on. And at the end of the summit, I said, Andy, I've got it. We have our goal. We are going to be a silver-level bike-friendly city within 3 years. And he was very enthusiastic. He looked at me and he said, So what we did, and clearly what you all have done, is set up a program along the 5 E's of cycling. It's engineering, encouragement, education, evaluation, enforcement, and equity we embed into everything we do. And I'm always amazed that bike planning actually did not start in the United States, and somehow this works out perfectly to be all E's. And then the next thing we did was we created a guiding principle. My guiding principle was to plagiarize. When we started the bike programs, every other city had gone before us. So it was really easy, and here I quote myself, if I never have an original idea, we can be wildly successful. And to date, I have never had an original idea as far as Boston Bikes goes. So when we ask people what will matter most, how will we change culture, how will we get people on bikes, time and again, everyone prioritizes, number one, the infrastructure, adding bike lanes and adding cycle tracks. But with that said, all of the other E's are still important. The education, the enforcement, the equity, everything else we can do. It's the big picture, but we do know that that infrastructure matters critically. Since we've launched the bike programs, we've added 92 miles of bike lane, in fact. Just shy of our goal, which we'll hit this year, which is 100 miles of bike lane since we started. And I'm very proud to say, and this is a little bit of mathematical gymnastics, but that is a 3,625% increase in bike lane mileage since we started, with the denominator of 182. It's easy when you're starting from such a low number. Where we're going though, and what we hear time and again, is if we're going to mainstream cycling, if we're going to change culture, people want protection. People don't feel comfortable next to the car. And everyone in this room, I am sure, is comfortable biking on roads. But when you think of your friends, when you think of your family members, grandparents, grandkids, we all want the same thing, safety from the motor vehicles. So we in Boston have started putting in protected bike lanes, also known as cycle tracks. In more rural areas, you can put in bike paths. They're a critical component of a complete bike infrastructure system. It's not all or nothing. There's a place for bike lanes, a place for share lane marking, but together you need everything in the toolkit. Number 2 for infrastructure is parking. When people talk about infrastructure, the number 2 reason they don't bike is actually no place to park their bike. So we added 1,800 and a handful of bike racks throughout the city, most of them standard bike racks. And then we got a little bit more creative. We added bike corrals on street bike corrals, and what we're doing is actually removing a parking spot in front of a cafe, and we'll put in a bike corral which will allow more people to bike. And I love the story. So the very first one we put in was in front of this cafe, the Other Side Cafe, and we had a big bulky rack. It was all one piece. And I put it in there, and I was so excited, and I had all these photos, and we put it up on the internet, and then I get a call the next day. And the call is from a truck driver trying to pull in to the driveway just past the rack. And he said, can you move it? I can't get in. And so we go out, and we unscrew everything, and we push it back about a foot. And then we get a call the next day, and it's from the property owner on the other side of the rack that says, well, this is great, but I can't get to my loading zone area and to my walkway. So we go back out and we push the rack back 6 inches, figuring we'll split the difference. And then we get another call from the first guy. And finally, I took out all the bolts and I just said, nudge the thing. Unfortunately, the last time I saw that rack was somewhere on the highway. I don't know where it went to. But we did get smarter, and we started putting in this type of on-street bike corral, which works significantly better. The other sort of trend in cycling is artistic racks. And I think racks are really not my strength. This was a rack, the Boston bike rack, that the city designed itself and decided to put out through the city. And when I was preparing for a talk, I looked up on the internet, world's ugliest bike rack, and this one appeared. So we've since commissioned those out. And actually, if you look really carefully, what I love about this Boston bike rack is if you happen to park to the S or the N, your bike will be stolen within 5 milliseconds. Don't forget the T. We've gotten smarter. We've now commissioned out artistic racks to a number of youth artists in the city. It works much better, no more bad mistakes. Other things that we've done, and this was inspired from Andy Clark from the League of American Bicyclists. We said one of the most important things we can do, number 2 on his list, is a big, significant citywide bike ride. We launched in 2008 the Hub on Wheels citywide bike ride. It now gets about 5,000 riders, even in the rain. And we closed down the main highway, Sturo Drive. People can ride a completely car-free Sturo Drive and see the entire city. We took it one step farther, and we do a monthly event called Bike Fridays. And what we do with Bike Fridays is cyclists come in from 9 different convoys all over the city and the surrounding neighborhoods. They descend on City Hall Plaza. We provide a free breakfast, free tune-up, free expo, and it's a monthly social event for the cyclists. On our end, though, why we did it was there are a number of neighborhood groups that were forming for biking all over the city. And we said, what if we create this event we start right in their neighborhood, they can be the leaders, bring in cyclists, then they're actually building a culture within their own communities. It's been tremendously successful, and it has grown over time. I think we started with 5 convoys. We now have about 10 different convoys. Circle the City, a summer streets type project where we shut down the streets in Boston and we just open them up for biking and walking and running. And then there's the whole, what we call it as community bike programs, but really getting into the neighborhoods, getting out of downtown, not thinking about commuters. We started a youth cycling program, and we have since worked with 24,000 kids. And one of the things we said was, there's a lot of programs out there that will go into a school, they'll get all the kids in a cafeteria, it'll look just like this, and there'll be some boring adult like myself standing there with a helmet telling the kids how to put on a helmet. And you know the kids are all asleep. Actually, they're probably excited that they're not in a regular class. And then on the other side, we have great programs, and I love Bikes Not Bombs dearly, but a lot of programs that work with 100 kids a year, and their goal is to change the lives of kids using a bike. And we said, we're the city, how do we design a program that has impact and scale, and where is that sweet spot? Because we can't just work with 100 kids, but we also can't just put on a helmet in the middle of a gymnasium. So we modeled the program after Copenhagen, and we bring bikes. All the kids are on the bikes for 4 to 8 hours over 2 weeks. They get 4 to 8 sessions, and we're teaching kids how to ride. We're teaching them rules of the road. We're giving them the skills to be safe. And most importantly, we're teaching the kids to fall in love with cycling. It's been incredibly well received. We do work with about 6,000 kids in Boston a year. And that number is important because there's only 5,000 kids per grade. So over enough years, and we've been doing this for 7 years now, you start to hit every single kid in the school. Roll It Forward is our bike donation program. So one of the earliest things we learned is there's a tremendous challenge of access. A lot of people, particularly in low-income neighborhoods, do not have bikes. And then we always say if they do have bikes, they're sitting in the basement with a flat tire and nowhere to fix them. But Roll It Forward, we collect, refurbish, and donate bikes into low-income residents. We've been able to do about 1,000 bikes a year now, and it's a little bit of an assembly line. And I always joke, this came about in 2010. We were applying for a stimulus grant through the Boston Public Health Commission, and I wrote this beautiful grant. I've never written, the words are flowing off my pen of how we were going to put together this incredible program, and we'd be collecting bikes and donating bikes, and we'd change the world. And then I got the grant, and I'm thinking, oh my God, how do I do this? So I did the one thing I know how to do well, which is hire someone smarter than myself. And John and now Jenny have run away with the program and really streamlined it to make it work. Most recently, we started a women's initiative, and I think this is interesting. In Boston, only 30% of the cyclists are women. And the last time I talked to a number of my single female friends, they are really convinced that there is no way that Boston is not 50-50 at least. In fact, they would tell me that Boston is about 80% women and there are no men. So we know something's wrong there, so we decided we've got to find these women cyclists since they are women in the city. And then we get into safety, and we do an annual survey. It gets about 3,000 respondents a year. And this last year, we asked cyclists a couple of questions. We said, tell us about other cyclist behavior. And we wanted to sort of set a benchmark for behavior about riding along the way of the street, running red lights, cutting off pedestrians, riding on the sidewalk. And our goal is sort of to track the behavior over time so we can evaluate the effectiveness of our programs. And one thing that was quite interesting was I thought the cyclists were really quite honest that other cyclists really are running the red lights and they're riding the wrong way on the street and they are riding on the sidewalk. But interestingly enough, none of the respondents were doing any of this themselves. So the natural conclusion is that every morning at rush hour, streams of cyclists are coming in from Cambridge and running all of the red lights in my city. We do have an enforcement program where the police go out regularly, and they do actually give tickets to cyclists. Oftentimes it's warnings, but they do give $50 tickets as well. The cyclists don't particularly like this. But with the days they're out, you see instantly all over the internet from all the cyclists that the police are out there ticketing and no one runs the lights. Okay, so bike share, Hubway, and I'm sure you guys are familiar. Has anyone tried Hubway yet? Wow, not so many. Has everyone heard of bike share?
Yes.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So in 2008, Paris launched bike share, and it opened our eyes, because there was Paris. It was a city just like Boston at the time. It was not bike friendly, lots of pedestrians, incredible traffic, and it was known as a walking city, good transit. And they launched, and they had 10,000 bikes out on the street instantly. And it was a smashing success. They had 54 million trips taken in the first 2 years, and 100,000 members in 2 years. And we said, if they can do this, we can. And what was so transformative about it was these weren't cyclists. These were just everyday people that were riding a bike. So we worked incredibly hard for a couple of years, and we were actually ended up one of the very first cities in the United States to launch bike share. And one of my greatest memories was sitting in a talk given by Jeanette Sadiq-Khan, the Transportation Commissioner for New York City, and she was actually in Boston, and she was talking about bike share because they hadn't launched yet. And they said, sometimes it's good to be, second or third or not go first because you get to learn by other people's mistakes. And I said, Jeanette, we didn't make any mistakes, we beat you. So we were, in fact, one of the first cities in the United States. We now see well over 1 million trips taken by bike share bikes per year. We have 150 stations and 1,500 bikes. And what's unique about our system is you can go from Boston to Cambridge to Brookline to Somerville, and it's all one system. And we hope to be expanding farther into more neighborhoods. That is when you do that, you get into a true transportation system. One of the other goals we had was to make bike share accessible to everyone regardless of income. And we launched a program fairly recently called Prescribe a Bike, where we're partnered with a hospital and doctors can actually prescribe a Hubway bike to low-income patients. And we're starting to see that take off. It's a really fun program, and we're hoping that that connection with the doctor and the patient will make a big difference. So where are we today? All of this has led to a doubling of bike ridership in the city of Boston. We now have about 80,000 bike trips taken by bike every day, up from 40,000. We did receive a number of years ago our silver level bike friendly award that Andy Clark didn't believe we would win. And you can see by the date. We should be submitting our application soon to be a gold city. And our ranking has gone way up from worse. This is just one of the rankings. I've actually seen our ranking as high as number 2 in the country, but that one was alphabetical. So that's what we as a city have done. But what's so incredible is we're only a small part of what can be done. It is truly the entire community that has made biking successful. And I did a little math. This one's a little better than my 3,625%. But we have 4 staff for the bike programs in the city of Boston. But we work with 15 city agencies in the city. 150 community groups are actively partnering with us on different projects. We have 500 volunteers a year, and we have 78,000 daily riders that are part of this. So this is where it gets into what you guys can do and how you can be helpful. And as inspiration, I pulled some of my favorite stories of what our community groups are doing. So the JP Spring Roll, Bob Dizon, a father in Jamaica Plain, a neighborhood of Boston, wanted to ride with his kid, so he set up a ride during Bike Week called the JP Spring Roll. It's a family ride, and once a year, over 200 families get out there and they ride straight down the center street in Jamaica Plain, the neighborhood. They do a 3-mile bike parade, and it is unbelievably adorable. Everyone's bikes are completely decorated. And I was sort of on the fence. I don't have a kid. Is it going to look a little creepy if I decorate my bike and go alone? But it worked out okay. I sort of hid. I'm small. Early on, when I had first started for the city, I got a call from a woman, Jamie Katz-Christie, and she said, I have a great idea. What if we got all of the corporations to have it to, on one day a month, the last Friday of the month, all come together and encourage all of their employees to walk and bike and take transit and get out of the car. And I said, boy, that really is a good idea, and I can't do it. And the next thing I knew, it was up and running, and it has grown into a massive program in the city with all of the large businesses participating. This is just one woman's idea. Fairmount Greenway, a number of really local neighborhood groups in Mattapan and Dorchester said, we want better for our city. For their neighborhoods. There's no bike path, there's no cycle tracks. They have a really tough geography there. And they said, let's just create a greenway. So they've been working with the city and raising money on their own, and right now we're assigning routes with them to create a greenway, and it's the first step of many steps to hopefully carve out an entire greenway north-south. There's a worldwide International Cyclo-Femme Day on May 12th. In May every single year, and Jessica Mink said, we need this in Boston, we'll set up our ride and we'll participate. But there's rides everywhere in the world on that one day for all women, and now there's one in Boston. Boston Bike Party, I thought this was great. We look around these rooms and sometimes we're lacking a number of young people, but a couple kids just out of college came into my office and said, no, we really want to start this event. They've got it in DC, it's called a bike party. And I get a lot of people with good ideas coming in, but very little follow through. And a couple weeks later, I'm sitting there downtown, there's 400 cyclists around me, tremendous, and everyone had the best time, and they were all young adults that never would be part of bike advocacy or anything else. And what they did was it engaged an entire new group of people. And to me, this was the best new addition in Boston. It created this energy and enthusiasm that was unparalleled in the advocacy world. Common Wheels, just a bike repair shop where people can come in, learn to fix their own bikes, head out. And I thought your question was great, Commonwealth Avenue, because this is pretty much my last slide. But Commonwealth Avenue, I say it's the biggest project that has come through Boston for biking in my entire tenure in the city. I've worked for the city in 8 years. Commonwealth Avenue has the highest rate of ridership in the city. It goes right through Boston University. And sadly, it has the highest crash injury rate in the city. It has a number of injuries. So about a year ago, the city unveiled its plans to reconstruct Commonwealth Avenue. So the city was reconstructing the entire street, and they rolled out the plan, and it had bike lanes. And the city felt pretty good about bike lanes. Don't applaud, because we weren't happy, actually. We were not happy at all because it already had bike lanes. And even though it had bike lanes, there was so much traffic and so many cars, there was still a fatality and still a lot of injuries. And the cyclist said, hey, this is now 2014, we need to do better. And the city said, we can't do better, we've got parking, and we've got all these issues that we have to balance. And the advocates said, look, we have to. And there were advocates inside City Hall that said, we need to do better as well. The advocates, I've never seen such a fantastic community process. They were persistent, and they got the mayor on a bike, and they got him to bike on Commonwealth Avenue. And you know what? It didn't feel so good with those bike lanes. They did a signature campaign, and they collected 2,000 signatures from people, and all of it said, I want a safer Commonwealth Avenue because, and they're all their reasons. When the city wasn't having a public meeting, the advocates said, okay, we're going to have a public meeting, and the advocates hosted their own public meeting, and the city had to show up. And you probably saw the article, it was front page of the Globe the other day, this just happened on Tuesday, but the city came back and said, okay, we are putting in protected bike lanes on Commonwealth Avenue, cycle tracks. These are fully protected facilities. You'll see a tripling of ridership on that road. It is, and when we look at the plan, we had the best engineers in the country design these protected bike lanes. It will be a world-class facility right in Boston. It is a tremendous project and a tremendous accomplishment, and it took the entire community. So get involved. We in the city, we do the best we can do. I am only one person. I have a staff of 3 other people. But without hundreds of people just like yourself, we can't do it. We need all of you engaged. We need you doing what you can, showing up at the meetings, and staying involved. There might be a lot of boring meetings out there, and please attend all of them. It makes a big difference. Some of you know that actually tomorrow is my last day working for the city of Boston, and I think it is so wonderful to spend my last evening here speaking to you. I spoke with you guys in 2011, just when you were starting, and I love to see how far you've come, and I hope you guys are future leaders as well in the state. Thank you.
Nicole to speak, we told her that our topic was building a bicycle culture on the South Coast. And I bet you'll all agree, did she deliver or what? Right, standing O. I also want to say that when Nicole came down to speak to us in Fall River in 2011, she shortly left and went to Vermont.
Oh, thanks.
But she came back. So if we keep our fingers crossed, there may be other things that are pulling her west, but who knows? Anyway, we want to thank you for the incredible work that you've done and your generosity in sharing that with us, Nicole.
Well, I'm glad. I wanted to ask for a hug, but I just met her, so I'm glad she reached out to me. Really unbelievable just to have someone like her, and we're so thankful that she kept this commitment, knowing tomorrow's her last day. She probably has all kinds of things going on, and for her to keep her commitment to come down and speak to us tonight is just, we're so thankful for that. So we do have one other speaker tonight that would like to speak briefly from Mass Bike. We have, just bear with me a second, I'm sorry, I gotta find my notes here. We have Mr. Richard Fries from Mass Bike. We're actually going to let him speak about who he is and what he's doing with Mass Bike, his new role there. I don't have a bio to read on him. He's going to tell you about himself and his relationship not only with Mass Bike, but the private cyclocross. So come on up, welcome Richard. So what we just want to say here is that, you know, we're very sad to see Nicole leave. And especially, I just met her for the first time tonight, and I really am sad to see her go after hearing something like that. But we're introducing someone new to us in the Mass Bike program, and so this is a transition here into someone new.
Fantastic, thanks. I just first off, I feel what you guys are trying to do. I live in Lexington on the Minuteman, and I witnessed what went on there to get that path built, and the acrimony and the venom and the stuff you face for the most benign, wonderful thing. And I'm also really eager to see you guys succeed, and I'm totally selfish here because I'm also the event director for the Providence Cyclocross Festival, which is now the biggest cycling event in New England. And nobody can get there by bike. So I hope you guys succeed. So I got this job, and they posted for it, and they asked, we need people with masters of public administration, urban planning degrees, all this stuff. And I went into the first interview and said, got none of those. But I still have twice as many friends on Facebook as you have members. And then they said, all right. My background comes from racing, event production, promotion, sponsorship. And when I took this job, it was really, it was an alphabet soup of state agencies, state programs, city programs, grants. And the one thing that I realized is, like, job one is that as long as Nicole Friedman's got Boston, I'm okay, because I can cover the rest of the state. And I will lose her, and I am so sad to see her lose. So another round of applause for Nicole. So I started my job, and it was really crazy in the first week. I started going to the Department of Transportation, and there was all these acronyms and names, and I didn't know what HSIP was and all these things. It was really confusing and intimidating. And the only thing I did right, after about a month, was I got Howie Carr really angry at cyclists. So I must have done something right, because we found some legislation that got the Boston Herald furious at us. But it is interesting. It didn't quite land the way it used to. And one thing is that a lot of reporters ask me, what are you going to do? I said, well, we've worked really hard to get a share of the road. Now we need to get a share of the mind. There's this, I was once on a panel with Nicole, and somebody asked about helmets and safety, and I said, you should always, 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 always wear a helmet when you drive a car. And people laughed. Why? Statistically, it's far more dangerous. It's like, you see the mind, we just don't have that much advertising to go into people's minds to make them believe what they believe. And so, I'm attacking this from a marketing and communications perspective. And so, here's the thing that's interesting. You want to talk about the struggles you guys are having. I talked to probably 10 different people a day. One guy, Roger Wilson, out of Winchester, said, I was 4 years old, they passed the Interstate Highway Act. When I graduated high school, the whole thing was done. That's a mandate to get something done. Think about that. Think about how hard you guys have had to work. We don't have a share of the mind, all right? So we're here to help you at Mass Bike to achieve that, and I'm going to put a lot into it. But I am here. I know how frustrating this is, because I've watched these in Belchertown, like, people still don't even speak to each other because somebody was pro-bike path and somebody was anti-bike path. It's a bike path. It's like Jon Stewart, it's just a freaking bike, He knows what I'm laughing about, because we're the all-powerful bike lobby here. That's why there isn't a very good buffet, So, and I've been there too for a long time. So, you look at what we're trying to create as a mandate, and here I am to give you a pep rally, though. Things are changing. Secretary of Transportation, Alexander Fox, Federal Secretary of Transportation, sort of looked around. Here's a guy, he's got all these tax cranks, looks at his budget and goes, for the price of one interstate cloverleaf, like they're building out a Route 2 and 495 or somewhere in Alabama, you could fund every bike path and bike facility on the drawing board today, nationwide. So you got to look at that from an ROI. Even the Republicans are, tell me that again? So you got to think about the ROI of this. But then the other thing that I'm going to tell you real briefly, and then I'm going to let us get to the bar and the raffle, is there's this concept called Vision Zero. Has anybody heard of it? It's a principle that our transportation policy should strive for zero fatalities. Zero. Okay. Now, when I took the job, I said, well, that's kind of utopian. That's just going to make Howie Carr make fun of us. And then I saw the people in Rhode Island at RIDOT, they put out the best video for it. They asked people, how many traffic fatalities do we have a year? And people were like, I don't know, 1 million? People didn't know. And then they were like, well, do you think Vision Zero could happen? They're like, hell no. Well, what would be an achievable goal? And people were like, I don't know, maybe cut it in half, cut it whatever. And then they asked, well, how many, transportation fatalities should you tolerate in your own family? Whoa. Suddenly it was like 0. So they got Vision Zero. The thing that Vision Zero does is that it starts to change our mandate. This was the mandate that happened in the Netherlands, in Denmark, in Germany. It was about fatalities. It was mothers that were tired of seeing people die needlessly on streets. And what you people are doing is really about this. It's mothers with strollers. It's elder folk. It is people that can't get out. So keep doing it. The great news is that I get to go to all these meetings where I can't believe they're letting me in the meetings, Department of Transportation, and they finally brought me into a meeting with 40 people last week, and it was about the 3rd year of a program that we're going to launch. It's about marketing and communicating and messaging. And all the policy wonks were in the room. And they really were freaking out. Because we need more data. We need more time. How do we do this? I goes, guys, they came up with the Just Do It campaign for Nike in 1 day. Okay, calm down. Okay, well, we got to do 5 years. I need 5 years of research. I can't come up with this messaging. And it was like, guys, I finally got it, but it suddenly dawned on me, the one woman we were working with, she was exasperated. She said, I've never been so confused in my life. She can digest massive amounts of traffic data and distill it into a great policy, but she couldn't think of messaging. And it finally dawned on me that from engineering, policy, funding, police, enforcement, ambulance, public works, we were the Secretary of Transportation Fox, all the way down to Stephanie Pollock. They've embraced Vision Zero. This is a cultural overhaul. This is mind share. This is overwhelming, and it's freaking everybody out. But it came to me that I suddenly realized the entire paradigm of transportation in America to this point has been, how do I get from point A to point B as fast as possible? And we're saying, that ain't working. We can't figure out the first and last mile. People are dying. 33,000 last year. 33,000, that's a plane crash a day. That doesn't make the news. We don't figure out A, B, and C very well. It's really, we're good at D through U, but we're a mess on A, B, C, and X, Y, Z. The first and last mile. And this is where bikes, bike path, bike lanes are succeeding. You people have a mandate from the federal government, from the state government, and there's this secret outing that Nicole knows about. And it's like the secret little code. It's the town planners and the city planners. They've all come out of these urban schools, and they are on your side. So go get them. Build your bike path. We want it. The state wants it. The federal government wants it. Office of Travel and Tourism wants it. Everybody wants this thing. It makes money. And when people roll down their window and say, you must be crazy riding a bike, my response now is, I decided to give you my parking space today. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Mass Bike's a great organization. They have done a lot for us in many ways, and they have a booth up here if you'd like to register and become a member. So please consider that. Just a reminder to everyone to consider on your way out tonight, stopping by one of these booths. We're going to have a raffle in just a minute, but we have two other people that would just like to call up to briefly announce a couple of events. This will be very brief, but John Sullivan from Fairhaven.
One of the meccas of bicycling is Seattle, and if you have a chance to go to Seattle to bike, take that up. What I do is I have a bicycling webpage that gathers all the local bike clubs, Fall River, Newport, New Bedford, Westport. Whenever they do bike rides, it's called midnightrider.com, and when they advertise that they're going to do a bike ride Wednesday night or Saturday, or the Narragansett Bay Wheelmen's Saturday morning cafe ride, I post that every Thursday on midnightrider.com. So if you're looking for local bike rides, that's one place to go. You don't have to go searching everywhere. I'll do all that work for you. And there's a couple of expanding away from this area a little bit. Next month, the Boston Marathon has their annual run, but there's also a midnight marathon bicycle ride. There's about 1,000 of us. We meet at South Station. We put our bikes on trucks. They truck us down to Hopkinton, and we ride our bicycles back on the Boston Marathon route, and we leave Hopkinton at midnight, and that's a great time. And there's some other local rides that are epic rides, like the New York City 5 Boroughs ride. 33,000 people of us ride on the first weekend in May through all 5 boroughs of New York. They close it down, and I have to say, what a great way to see New York City, going at 14, 15 miles an hour on your bicycle with no cars. So if you're interested in doing some of the local rides with the Newport group, the Fall River group, New Bedford, Fairhaven groups, go to midnightrider.com any Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and all the bike rides coming up for the weekend will be there. And there's one other ride that's once a month. It's the FBC. Fairhaven is one of 5 national bike clubs, and we do a full moon ride every month. And we start down at Corks, and we'll either ride down to the Fort Rodman, New Bedford, or over to Fort Phoenix, watch the full moon rise, go back to Corks, and do what you do at places like Corks after that. Bring your bikes down there, and it's a good time. It's only about a 5 to 8 mile ride, but every full moon, and that'll be on midnightrider.com also. Thanks.
Thank you, John. And just a little plug here, the Bike Week in Massachusetts is coming up in May, and for the past couple of years we've had a ride leaving Fairhaven, sponsored by the South Coast Bikeway Alliance, and supported by hosted by the town of Fairhaven and the other local communities, Mattapoisett especially. The ride goes on a beautiful bike path in the town of Fairhaven and into Mattapoisett, and then we have several lengths of rides that you can do, but it's we get materials, t-shirts and things like that donated to us for this, maybe the top first 50 or 75 riders, but look for that on our website, and we hope you come out for that too. We also have Brian Pearson here from Fall River, who has an announcement for us.
I heard two things tonight: vision and get involved. So tonight I'm going to ask you to have some vision and get involved. On May 9th, we're planning an event on the Secana River Bridge. It's going to be a celebration. As you know, the Secana River Bridge has a bike path going over it. Well, Bike Newport, Bike Fall River, and a group from Tiverton. We have Barry Freeman from Bike Newport, Peter Monas from Tiverton, and our group in Bike Fall River. We're going to have this event May 9th, and we're asking people to get involved. Also, we had John Neri from the Narragansett Bay Wheelmen helping us out too. And what we're trying to do is show people that not only do we have this new link that goes from Portsmouth to Tiverton, but we want to have a vision. We want to show people in southeastern New England we can have this great vision of developing a bike path from the southern part of Fall River all the way down along Mount Hope Bay, crossing the bridge, and then going on to Aquidneck Island all the way to Newport. Sounds impossible, but picture that in your mind. It would be one of the most beautiful bike paths in New England. So if you want more information, you can sign up over there for emails from Bike Fall River, or if you go on Fall River Bike Committee on Facebook, you'll see announcements coming up. So I hope you can make it, because we're looking for a good group of riders. We're going to do a small ride before we have the celebration. We're going to leave from Portsmouth, go over the bridge, and go through Tiverton, and then back. And then we're going to have this little celebration. So I hope you can make it, stay involved, and again, keep that vision. Thank you.
I can tell you, Brian is our best organizer. He organizes group rides all the time. He gets the best participation. They go on regular rides all the time, and again, it's generally people who are coming together for short to medium rides, nice slow-paced rides, and getting to know each other that way. So we're going to wrap up just prior to the raffle. We want to call Richard Fries up one more time, real quickly. He's going to issue a challenge to you.
This one's great. This comes from my friend Steve Winslow of Bike to the Sea. Like you, he's been like on the crucifixion of bike path building on the North Shore for like 25 years. As long as I've known him, it's the path too far. But he's kept at it, and he's closing in right now. So Bike to the Sea and Alliance working to build a bike path through Malden, Saugus, Revere, Everett, and Lynn. I used to work in Lynn for 10 years. Recently learned about the South Coast Bikeway Challenge. They're excited. They're getting organized. They think they can beat the South Coast at its own game. Your team has been challenged to ride more miles per capita than ours. The prize is winner takes all. Each team will put together a bushel basket of their region's best food products. Okay, now we're talking Lynn, all right? You might not want to win this thing. Once we've tallied the miles after Labor Day, the winning team gets to enjoy it all at the award ceremonies. The winning team, if you guys beat them, you get the basket will include marshmallow fluff made in Lynn, Teddy's peanut butter made in Everett, Necco wafers from Revere, and squirrel nut zippers. They would like to know what would you put in your basket for the challenge. I think you guys can take this.
So once again, really, the challenge is a lot of fun. It's easy. It's very easy to log your miles. It takes literally 5 seconds. You go on, you click on your page will pop up once you sign on and you get used to doing it, and you just click whether you're riding for transportation or commuting, or if you're riding for pleasure. And just to reiterate, we had some people riding thousands of miles, but we also had people that would ride 8 miles, 6 miles, 5 miles, but do it on a regular basis. And quite honestly, those are the people we're looking to get involved in the challenge. We're looking to get people who we know, they're friends of ours, who maybe could use a little exercise or use a challenge to get on their bike to lose some weight, just to, you clear your mind, those kind of things. So you just find someone new that you think has a bike and would be interested in doing this, and you'd be surprised that for some people, just logging your miles every day is a little bit of a motivating factor. But again, rather than people riding thousands of miles, we'll take those, and we want to issue a challenge to the Narragansett Bay Wheelmen to join us, because we'd love to have those miles. But we also really, really want to encourage, this is all about building a bike culture for the people who are not currently biking. So we want to get as many people out here as possible we have beautiful places to ride around here. Get people out on their bikes, logging their miles, and that's a challenge to all of you. We'd like to see 28 grow to 280 people doing this, at least on the South Coast. And there's a ranking system, so when you go online and you log on, you can see how our South Coast Bikeway group compares to all the other groups that are doing this in the Commonwealth and also nationally. So we really would like to see our ranking. We want to take that challenge, and we also want to see a high ranking in the state. So I think we're all set for the raffle. I think Jackie Schmidt from Serpent is going to come up with the raffle. Jackie's very, very helpful to us, and Serpent hosts our website. And so we have, how are we going to do this? Which order are we going in? And we'll let Julie pick the prizes out. And one last thing, if you are going to sign up for the challenge, on your way out, help yourself to a water bottle. Many of you probably have water bottles. You can give it to someone else, but they have our logo on them. They were donated as part of a United Way mini grant that we got last year, so please help yourself.
Thanks for coming.